Hello everybody and welcome back to the Legends of Runeterra World Championship. We know our top 4 players, which means we are closing out the day with our 3rd place match and then our grand finals. To bring us through that 3rd place match though, we've got Amazonian and Skarzig taking over the casting for this next incredible match. I'm sure you both are so excited to get into it, so Amy, I'm just gonna let you take it away.
Alright, so right now we're going to be having the playoffs for the 3rd and 4th place. Both of these players didn't make it quite into the finals, but we're going to see who walks away with an additional $3,000 in prizes trying to get this 3rd place spot. So we just watched Szychu playing, and What Am I did lose a little bit earlier on in the day to Alan.
Yeah, so these players do still have a lot on the line, right? That's a pretty big difference in prize money, an extra $3,000. And you know, coming from NA, we take our Beyond Beef, our NA versus EU rivalries, wherever we can find it. We've got 2 gods ascending to the finals, and now it's up to these 2 players to battle it out and see who's the best mortal. What Am I is piloting the same lineup as Majin Bey, and Majin Bey actually was knocked out by Szychu. We did see that unfortunate loss, and we might have a similar ban. It's going to be very difficult, right? The Feel the Rush does so well into that lineup with the Heimerdinger coming through.
Yeah, it turns out that the secret tech in this tournament is Feel the Rush, and occasionally Darkness. Didn't expect that one, but amazed to see how well it's performed. So, heading into these games, we've got What Am I? You've seen him play all week long, and what does he have? He's got the Yordle Attack Squad, followed by a bit of Scion Discard, and Zoe Nami, the North American favorite.
Yeah, Zoe Nami is a deck that, over the course of the broadcast, it started off really, really hot day 1, and it's been burning out ever since. Even if Nami is in the hand. The meme started out as no Nami, no win, but even we've seen some matches with Nami in the hand with the full combo seemingly coming together, it still can't make it work against these Draven decks that have so much removal and so much chance to get tempo on the board early and just rush them down. What Am I is in a position right now to potentially be favored. I, again, am so curious to see if Feel the Rush will be the ban after all. Both of these decks are just from Szychu, right? The Feel the Rush and the Heimerdinger have been such oddballs that players have been unsure of what to ban, unsure of how to play. Szychu, meanwhile, rounding out his lineup with as Freak called it, a more normal deck, the Draven Caitlyn, with a little bit of Captain Farron at the top end. So it's like, okay, do you want to take your chances of playing against something a bit more meta, or something that you really haven't calculated for? What Am I had a majority of his practice with Majin Bey, and so neither of these players, who are normally masters of the metagame and for assembling tournament lineups, really accounted for these lists. The Feel the Rush can just kick back, wipe your board, get to that big bomb turn, and I think we could see Szychu just ban out the the Caitlyn Draven, and that take the Aloof Travelers out of the equation, not wanting to worry about that discard. It could be really exciting to see.
I think that would be a smart ban, but we're going to have to see how it plays out. I also want to say that this really is the showdown of the streamers. What Am I and Szychu are both incredible players which you can watch, and I recommend it if you're looking for some quality entertainment and maybe a little bit of education. Get your own gameplay up to par. You should check both of them out.
Oh yeah, my mistake. I said that What Am I was on Caitlyn, but no, What Am I is actually on the Scion variant. And we actually do see the Heimerdinger ban come through, and the Poppy Lulu ban also getting banned. We did see Szychu pick up a win against a Poppy deck with the Feel the Rush a long time ago, and we know that rallies are the bane of Freljord Shadow Isle's existence, so getting a win in a narrow spot like that is something that you're only going to be able to realistically count on once. So we have the Poppy ban coming through, and What Am I respecting the Targon, right? He kind of built his reputation up as a Targon player, respecting the value of the Heimerdinger and the Targon package, doesn't want to deal with that, and we'll see if, with the bad luck Nami Zoe has experienced throughout the tournament, if maybe we get the true combo coming through here.
I'm a little sad to see the Zoe Heimerdinger banned, though. I wanted to see the spicy decks showing down right here, but you know what? I'm sure I could always just net deck this list and play it a bit more for myself.
I mean, at the very least, Heimerdinger did get an appearance here in the top 4 of the World Championships, right? So this is just a huge achievement in and of itself. Both of these players, huge achievement here. Top 4 on the entire planet. And right now, we're trying to see who's coming in 3rd, who's coming in 4th. We still got the NA-EU rivalry still alive. But now that the bans are locked in, both players still have a little bit of time to think about which deck they want to lead off with. I think WhatAmI might just try to go for the Nami deck. It's a list that is pretty stable into both of these. Szychu with Feel the Rush, if you get enough board wipes, you can take down the Nami, but it's just that when we evaluate Shadow Isle's Freljord, a lot of the removal is 2-stage. And so if you have to damage a unit and then finish it off the next round, it does potentially give WhatAmI a lot of room to just, well, Nami's going to die to this this slow speed removal like Avalanche or something, and you just throw all your spells on the stack. That's what we saw in his match versus Alan. You just get to buff up all of your units before the Nami has to go down.
I'm actually a little surprised that neither player banned out the Draven decks. Draven Discard and Draven Tribeam are both so strong. Really the good stuff in the meta right now. In fact, I think every single player in the top 8 did bring 3 copies of Draven because they respect it. They respect the Draven.
Yeah, Draven has been such a solid champion and enables so many versatile decks. We saw when the Beyond the Bandlewood expansion first hit and Scion was released, it was one of the most popular decks for like the first 2 or 3 days. Players really liked this deck, really liked the play pattern, began to experience the power of Lost Soul, and once players realized, hey, you know, Lost Soul isn't meant just for the Scion package, we run enough discards in the classic like Ezreal Draven style that had already existed, and now we have this new reformulation and evolution of the archetype to include the Lost Soul in this value removal package. We'll see if WhatAmI can embrace the aggression of the Scion archetype and rush this down. Both lists with no healing means WhatAmI can do the work here early potentially.
It turns out that a 4/3 that gets you another 4/3 that gets you another 4/3, all of which that have challenge and give you essentially a free discard from your hand without reducing your hand size, is pretty good. That's why we're seeing so much play with this card. So it looks like we're seeing a start with some Sump Fumes.
Sump Fuge beautifully played here. You got to remember that it gets that bonus damage when you add an additional card to your hand, and the axe counts for that beautifully. So Draven's still alive, and with the Draven on the board now, the quick attackers is something that neither of these decks really want to deal with. WhatAmI does have the means to enable this Lost Soul, but wants to go for the Aloof Travelers instead.
Did a little bit of digging and did find 2 direct damage. Not too bad here. And now Draven, of course, not very good to be blocked by either of these units. The Boom Baboon, a 3/1, and the Aloof Travelers both would die quite nicely. This also brings the Draven halfway up to a level up.
I like that Szychu recognizing the implications here. WhatAmI wants to be aggressive, but with no Draven on 3, it just puts Szychu in the driver's seat. This is one of those times where you kind of want to play control, but your deck is just putting you in a situation where as long as you're reading the cards correctly, you're reading the flow of the match, you can embrace the tempo that Draven is earning. This list is one that levels up Draven very, very consistently here, and WhatAmI just struggling to hang on. We could see the Draven go down to Twin Blade Revenant here, but we have the Whirling Death in hand as well for Szychu.
I was about to say, that Whirling Death, I think, is going to be the real game changer here, because not only could it save the Draven in combat from the Revenant, it could also level him.
And then it sets it up where your opponent's challenger is gone, you still have something waiting in the wings, you've got a nice overwhelm, open attack to come through. It's really lining up quite well because you even have mana for the House Spider. And WhatAmI ironically wants to be the aggressor, but his deck is refusing to give him any sort of gas from this position.
So Szychu just passing back here, knowing that he's not missing out on too much and really wants to pressure WhatAmI into going into an attack here.
because his list is has more removal and more top end, even if there was a burn there, you still kind of want to float the spell mana, right? It's going to make your tri-beams and your decimates eventually a little bit more flexible to cast. And I suppose, talking about the tri-beam, that is the one saving grace for What Am I? Despite Szychu's tempo, we don't have that long-term value of the tri-beam cooking in hand.
I know, it always stinks to have a tri-beam show up halfway through the game, so it hasn't been building up stacks on stacks on stacks of value. It's always fun to see somebody shoot it for like 7 damage, give a 7 drop, and then win off the 7 drop.
I mean, honestly, with me and you on the desk, we know the Tri-Beam and Probulators are going to be eternally blessed to get some spicy inclusions. And Szychu here is opting for the line that you talked about, Whirling Death plus the Axe, going to level up Draven. There was the consideration we saw of letting this Draven die and just playing the second one. This is a lot of 3-mana cards being played without the Tri-Beam in hand, and Szychu says, well, there's no Tri-Beam anyway. If I draw one in the next couple rounds, it'll be too slow to stack, so I'm going to just embrace what my deck is telling me, and I'm going to become aggressive here.
Not just aggressive, but even enabling just an open crackback swing right here. There's 2 very low health units. We're going to see the Revenant grabbing the Aloof Travelers, the only one that has 4 toughness here. And then, you're not able to block that Draven. That's a terrible block. I'm a little sad to see the 2-2 not go through, though. I feel like the 2-2 should get the party.
I definitely wouldn't mind. You throw the 2-2 out to block the 3-1. You're getting 4 damage anyway. I suppose this is a nice call out, right? Because What Am I's like, well, I'm only saving 3 HP. There's so many ways for Szychu to just remove the Boom Baboon, and I take the full damage anyway. So now we're in a position where Draven isn't a real blocker, but now that you're ahead on Nexus HP, maybe you take a little bit of damage. Time Winder looking to clean up this board right now.
Now we do have the spicy Ezreal getting picked up right here. Now I'm seeing a lot of things that could die to a Mystic Shot.
Yeah, it is important to note that Szychu's variant is 2 Ezreal and 1 Caitlyn. A lot of flexibility here. This P&Z Noxus archetype is very flexible, very toolbox oriented, and Szychu is embracing that completely with the build. We've got a single Time Winder, a couple Sump Fumes. It's really all over the place, but in a good way.
Yep, and Szychu does have the lead on Nexus health right here. We've got 12-16, but of course both players do have a good amount of direct damage available between the Get Exciteds and the Mystic Shots, and of course we've got the Ezreal, who becomes a Mystic Shot once the first one is played, since we do see 2 of those in hand.
And with no threat of Twin Blade Revenant visible right now, I wonder if Szychu is going to try to go for that. Just play out the first Ezreal, let him die, maybe tanks a removal spell, and then you play the second. We have the Lost Soul available, but now with the Draven, yeah, now we have a confirmed enabler.
Oh, hello there, Draven.
And
I'm
as
sure
we
Draven
were
loves
talking
seeing
about
himself.
Yeah, as we were talking about Szychu kind of being in an aggressive spot, a really good position, What Am I now hitting his stride here in the mid game, able to develop a very, very wide board. Szychu going to pass here, wants to keep the mana open for some flexibility, for some utility, maybe trying to, just bluff What Am I a little bit.
There's no great blocks here. Szychu's deck really does excel being the aggressor, and we are going to see kind of the pains here.
Yeah, the Time Winder is so huge, removing 6 damage, and you've got your 4-3 taking out the Sump Dredger. And now, again, as you talked about it, Amy, the 4-3 is just going to come back to your hand and then just live to fight another day. You just get to replay it.
Infinite value. We're seeing one of Draven's axes now in the hands of the Aloof Travelers, about to take down the level Draven. The Time Winder, double baboon murder city right there. Echo, what are you doing to these poor baboons?
The baboons are down. What Am I seems to have evened things out here, even using the survival skills to keep the 4-1 alive now. The Sump Dredger still hanging on there. What am I
missed that on the discard. I wasn't paying attention to which card got discarded.
Yeah, it's going to be nice amazing move here. You can see that What Am I is trying now to fight for a lot of tempo here. Szychu redeveloping with that beautiful Twin Blade Revenant. And now, going into round 7, What Am I is going to be, round 8. We're really struggling here because WhatAmIXX does not have Scion yet. This is the main thing you need for this mirror match. You have to get your opponent tenderized, and then for Scion to come down and finish the job. Szychu has enjoyed a few rounds of breathing room here.
Oh, and Draven once again in hand for Szychu. Got all those champs at the ready except for the Caitlyn's. WhatAmIXX, though, back over, just buffing up the units in hand, getting that Fallen Rider up to a 4 power. Fearsome. So nice at 2 mana. I love how much synergy there is with this new Scion build. It feels like it's really infinite value. When you compare it to the Draven Jinx build, which is really looking to empty its hand fairly early in the game, this one, it's almost impossible to empty your hand. You can try, but you won't be able to.
And we've actually seen players burn cards in this archetype. It is really absurd the amount of value this discard mid-range has added to the game. And it's also pretty ironic that typically we see a region combination in a matchup that's very value-oriented has really devolved into just a slugfest. Because the players are both lacking their late-game finishers, it's come down to a battle for supremacy on the board. Szychu does have Ezreal in the back pocket for a little bit of extra burn, but things could go south so fast as long as WhatAmIXX can hit that Scion down. Spell coming on the stack.
Conditional removal in WhatAmIXX's hand. That Scorched Earth needs to see the pain in order to function as removal. So we did see the Mystic Shot on Draven, which can then be followed up by Scorched Earth. Perfect use of the mana. Finishes him off very cleanly.
Yeah, this deck has a lot of really strong stat lines. Like, we've got the 3 HP, the 4 HP, the 3 attack, the 4 attack, all just lining up against each other and trading continuously. But when you have this overwhelm damage also thrown into the equation where it's something you don't necessarily want to just chump block, that's when the removal needs to come through. Unfortunately, WhatAmIXX is not going completely aggressive. It still has some backup plans in his Scion list and can deal with this leveled up Draven. This is just a great position for Szychu to be in, because you get to keep on playing out these threats and forcing WhatAmIXX to just continuously respond to what you are doing rather than developing continuous wide threats. And the players are still very even here in Nexus HP.
It's actually very impressive. You've got both of them sitting just about halfway down from their starting Nexus
so
health.
Many champion draws from
And
Szychu!
wow, that is the 3rd Draven. You know, this is just a Draven-loving cast right here. We appreciate the Executioner himself. But I feel like Ezreal needs some love. Ezreal should come into play. I don't care if it's not the right move. I want to see Ezreal on the board.
Now that we've got... When this Draven comes down, it's going to generate even more axes, and then we're just going to see Ezreal just shoot the Nexus with all these burst speed spells coming through. We've even got the Station Archivist in hand, which could root through the top of the deck, looking for a little bit of extra burn as well. Szychu is just playing this battle of attrition. And WhatAmIXX still missing the Scion. This isn't one of those games where Aloof Traveler's discarded it and he's scrambling. He's just at the bottom of the deck for some reason. We'll see if another wide establishment is what WhatAmIXX needs to take back control of this game.
Now we've got 3 elusive Poros here, and I did see the proactive axe on the spider to deter the Revenant from attacking in. I wouldn't have minded seeing Revenant trade with Revenant, but then, guess what happens? Another one just comes down, because again, this is the infinite value. If you have a way to discard it, it's going to go straight back to hand. Or, you can always just, this late in the game, play Lost Soul.
And so we've got double Ezreal in hand. That's going to translate to a Mystic Shot. We've got more burn with the Get Excited, and even more coming through with the axes. This could be the lethal you were looking for, Amazonian.
Now it turns out that with this number of spells, Ezreal's about to do some serious damage. So Ezreal, sometimes I just think of him as an elusive unit who gets you Mystic Shots, but he also has a really, really sick level up, which means that once you're casting the spells, you're doing 1 or 2 damage straight to the Nexus. And look at that, already at 10. I feel like I feel like this is just such a nice place to be, and we do see respect for the potential 3 damage, either a Flock, or a Scorched Earth, or a Get Excited, not swinging in with the Ezreal. And here comes Draven with his Whirling Axes.
Yeah, the Draven, after he leveled up, he just wanted to remain in the spotlight, kept getting drawn, and Szychu now in a fantastic, dominant position here. Even after this attack goes through, WhatAmIXX is out of mana. There's really no way for him to respond to this, and Szychu right now smiling, calculating, doing the math, and having all of this damage about to come through. And like here, the Get Excited onto the Twin Blade Revenant to protect the Draven. We've got axes going through onto the Draven to push through with even more damage with the Overwhelm. It's just a sight to behold. This is absolutely beautiful. Even with the daring Poros as elusive blockers, Ezreal doesn't need to attack in. He's kicking back and letting the rest of the deck do the work.
Yeah, that Whirling Death fizzling because there's nobody left to throw the axes. Draven now making more axes, and each time one of these is cast, it's just another Nexus damage. It doesn't even matter. I think that there's lethal right here.
Yeah,
2 to the face plus 1 from the Ezreal, and then another 2 straight from those axes.
Yep, there's
GG.
the Shen emote. And Szychu just going for the double discard. And there is the lethal. We're going to take this to a game 2. Szychu picking it up against the Scion list. With no Scion coming through from WhatAmIXX, that seems to be the curse that is now affecting this world-class player. The champions just aren't coming through. The draws just aren't lining up. Szychu, after picking up that win, needs to close this out with Feel the Rush.
I don't think Feel the Rush is going to be too hard to get a win with, though. We've seen it perform very well for Szychu across this weekend, and it's also a very nice deck. It is board wipe, board wipe, board wipe, board wipe, 2 10-10s.
And how fondly I remember that list. This is a deck that was ruling the metagame so long ago and really took a back seat after Lissandra and the Thrall combo deck started to come through and take its place as the premier Freljord Shadow Isles list. And then after that deck was eventually nerfed, Freljord Shadow Isles kind of just moseyed about the metagame, right? We saw a little bit of love for Anivia for a brief moment, and now Feel the Rush. Szychu saw into the deepest reaches of the metagame and realized that a lot of these newer decks just can't deal with this classic power. And it's ironic that Szychu is in the top 4 of Worlds when, after submitting this lineup, thought that it might have actually been Copium.
Oh, no. This was the right move to make. Really showing that his instinct with these decks was the right one. So WhatAmIXX did throw back most of that hand, keeping the Zoe, trying to find the Nami. And we have seen many times today what happens when a Zoe Nami deck doesn't get its Nami.
Right now, Zoe in play is great because you can get Crescent Strike potentially off the super cool star chart. There was a brief moment in time where controlling Targon decks did exist alongside the Feel the Rush, right? And that was kind of the way you won, was Crescent Strikes and Falling Comets. And so WhatAmIXX, a very experienced Targon player, is going to be playing to this condition. There's the Crescent Strike offered, but a little bit of hesitation. WhatAmIXX thinking, oh, do I want to just draw more with the Messenger and get my true win condition? Very tough choice.
Yeah, the Crescent Strike won't be relevant for a few turns. So it makes sense to maybe build towards leveling Zoe as that alternate win con. Though I don't think you can have any expectations about keeping Zoe alive when you're up against Szychu's deck. This deck really is all about the removal. You see in hand the double grasp, you've even got Withering Wail and the box.
Yeah, see, this is the most efficient thing that Szychu can do against the Zoe. This is very well timed because you're just trying to cover the Pale Cascades, but they're... Oh, has the Sunblessed Beggar and Pale Cascade, wants to keep the Zoe up. You were right, Amazonian, that WhatAmIXX took the Messenger because you want to just accelerate and turbo out this Zoe. We'll see if this win condition truly pays off, because WhatAmIXX has been betrayed by Nami repeatedly, and is just throwing her to the side and saying, I have my original Zoe win condition to rely on now.
So we're going to see the second grasp now coming out on Zoe. There is not a way to keep her super alive in hand, so we're going to see the heal and the card draw on Guiding Touch digging a little deeper in the deck and finding Spell Thief.
Yeah, I was hoping to get another Sunblessed Vigor or another Pale Cascade there to prevent this Grasp of the Undying from going through. But Szychu using two very important removals just to deal with the Zoe. There really, again, isn't much for Szychu to do, but with two Grasp down, this means that there's potential for Admiral Shelley to hit the board with that 3 HP and feel a little bit more safe. Szychu right now has the box as the final failsafe against a wide, chunky board like that.
Oh, and we just saw a draw of one of my favorite cards. We got the Atrocity now in hand. It's been nerfed, but it's still a great finisher, the double Atrocity in Szychu's deck. And it's especially nice with something that dies and comes back.
We've seen that repeat. It's ironic that, like, Szychu has a unit that will die and come back and you finish off with Atrocity. I remember back when we were in the Control Targon meta that was splashing Atrocity, players would often do that with the Immortal Fire. And so we still have a little bit of that synergy still left in the game. Catalyst of Eons coming through to ramp Szychu now a little bit and heal off a little bit of that damage. Feel the Rush is available, but things are getting a little bit scary. Every round that you give What Am I, you know that Szychu is constantly fearing all of this card generation and everything that's coming through in the hand. Just a lot of single target removal and no AoE to potentially wipe this.
Now there's the choice here between banking the mana and going for the box. Have to decide between taking out these units as they've landed, banking the mana, or maybe even going for Ruination next turn. It's very possible to wipe out your opponent's progress, do the Ruination, and then follow up the turn after with Feel the Rush. But it always feels best to feel the rush when you're on the attack since these units are so big.
So Feel the Rush does indeed look to be the play. By not prioritizing answering this board, you're simply saying to What Am I, I'm just going to summon things that are so big, I'm going to force you to trade. What Am I has the Hush, which can set the units, the champion stats back to normal, get rid of the Overwhelm, but you still need to block some of that that's coming through. This is a huge call out for Szychu, right? Because if there is Hush and then just a chump block, you aren't pushing through as much damage as you would like. And then What Am I, now that you're tapped out, very easily respond with Admiral Shelley or Nami. And you can see the look on his face. He recognizes that this could go very awry.
Nami looking to do a little bit of stealing, and we saw a snap pick there of the Feel the Rush. Hey, have you ever seen a 10-10 Zoe before?
Only in my worst nightmares.
Oh, those are the finest dreams.
So now we'll have 10-10 Zoe, 10-10 Nami potentially coming down. And so that's just a massive elusive unit and then a big unit that makes everything else bigger.
I feel like that's gotta be what ends up with the Ruination happening.
And look at this beautiful line from What Am I? Because of the Hush on Tryndamere into the block, he's not going to level up. Just completely removed from the board.
He no longer has the text that says, when I die, instead I level up. No, here, he's dead. He only has 4 health, and then he just trades with an elusive Otter. So What Am I, going on the attack next turn, has the choice of just swinging in here, getting in the damage, maybe even just like playing out a Burblefish or Sparklefly first, or going deep, getting the Feel the Rush out, which unfortunately would invite the board wipe from Szychu.
I mean, you play the Feel the Rush. I think you got to, right? It's like, it's too juicy. There's a lot of, like, there's definitely a lot of room. You got this wide board of elusives. You got a little bit of defense with the Sunblessed Vigor, but...
And we also have a stun. Ooh. But no, going for the Feel the Rush. I'm going to be so happy for this very, very brief moment in time that results in the world's biggest Nami.
And
this
Nami's
is real
going
big
to
fish.
attune. So if there is a Gifts from Beyond in the hand, I do believe still. And there will be... Oh, another Spell Thief. Yeah, so this allows you to get one piece of value out of the Nami. Ruination. Szychu no fun.
It happened. It happened. We saw it. But you know what's gonna happen? Spell Thief! Let's see if it shows up again. Another Feel the Rush. There it is! What am I, the actual Feel the Rush player here?
So there is in Szychu's deck only one copy of Ruination.
That's the only board wipe. So it's down to, for those big units, either chipping away with damage or getting those 2 Vengeance. We see, actually, there's only 1 Vengeance in the list, I believe.
Yeah, one
I'm
Vengeance,
double checking, there's
one
only
Ruination.
1 Vengeance!
So now it's going to be, now that that big AoE removal is gone, the Grasp of the Undying is gone, what am I in a position to say, okay, well, I've run Szychu out of removal, and Szychu doesn't have another Feel the Rush to try to get the tempo back from this position.
So what does have to wait another turn to get that Feel the Rush online, because there needs to be 3 banked spell mana, but this deck's pretty good at doing that. It's also pretty good at having small units that die right here to an avalanche.
Just get this Sparklefly off of the board before Nami or Shelly comes down and is able to buff it. This is the same curse, Nami being, MIA, coming out of the deck very briefly with Feel the Rush and then immediately leaving, but no Admiral Shelly either. It's been just a lot of piecemeal developments, and when you don't have the means to combo in response to your opponent's AoE, you just can't keep your board alive.
But here we go. I think it's time for, once again, Feel the Rush? What am I feeling it? I'm feeling it.
Yeah, you can float the 3 spell mana here, and then you've just got Feel the Rush into another massive attack. Szychu has the Vengeance to stop the Zoe from coming through with guaranteed 10 elusive damage, but there's still a gigantic Nami that you need to worry about that you just realistically aren't going to be able to remove. And the Despair, unfortunately, is going to be worthless against units of this size.
Now, this is the second Nami, but
That's right, all the Zoes are dead!
All 3 Zoes are dead, so here it is. It's just Nami with only 2 spell mana left over. Can only get a single buff, so we're going to see Guiding Touch, which heals and buffs across both units.
Oh no, yeah, the Feel the Rush is such a tempting card to play. You've got your Nami, but now Szychu is in a position where What-Am-I only has 1 Nami left. There's still 3 Admiral Shellys waiting, but it's so dangerous to get the Sparklefly set up when you know that Szychu has so much AoE potentially left. We haven't seen any Blighted Ravines yet. There is still a couple Avalanches waiting. We've got double Withering Wail and the box. I don't know if What-Am-I even has enough threat level left in the deck. And Szychu is just waiting on another copy of Feel the Rush to really close this out, or just a straight-up top-deck Tryndamere to play.
So with the vulnerable granted by the Ice Pillar, trying to take out that Sparklefly. But the Sparklefly is resilient, being healed up, staying alive, and because the heal did happen, we also have a 4/2 on the board. What am I? Getting a little bit of synergy off those free 1-drops.
And Szychu, unfortunately, is just very desperately trying to throw removal down at these units. And because What-Am-I is so healthy, you don't necessarily need the Sparklefly to be the thing that stays in play and is your win condition.
Ooh, and the box going to clean up poor Shelly here.
Mm-hmm. Any elusive that can stick and get buffed up is going to be the ticket here. With Vengeance already down, with Ruination already down, Szychu's going to need to have something equally as large in play, and maybe has to go for a Sacrificial Atrocity just to kill the final elusive threat. Nami number 3 is found by What-Am-I.
There's definitely a bit of diff here between who can and cannot find their champs.
Yeah, so Szychu's in a position to just despair right here to get rid of the final Nami. And now What-Am-I is going to throw all the spells down that he can to get as much value out of this last Nami and buff up this Sparklefly.
Yes, right now we're going to see the potential chain. We're waiting. Almost everything here is burst speed, but some of these bursts are not too useful. No real good targets for the Hush. We've heard some discussion before about how this Hush has been functioning today. Maybe not the best include in this meta, but ooh, going for another Spell Thief, what do you choose? Do you want the single target removal? Do you want a little bit of wide and healing? I like
Goes
that
for the
because
Withering Wail just because it's castable.
It clears up the spider. It clears up the spider and it buffs that 1-drop. Actually, if you're already at full, it doesn't count as a heal. It does count as a heal. Now it's 6-3.
And so with the pillar being dragged to the side, we can push through a little bit more damage. We do have Infernum now in the hand and Gravitum as well for What Am I. Because the Sparkleflies have been drawn to the hand naturally, it opens up the Gifts from Beyond to be a bit more flexible with the moon weapons that you pick. Right now, Szychu, putting up a valiant effort, has answered all 6 of What Am I's champions, but does not have the win condition. What Am I has played more Feel the Rushes than Szychu.
But What Am I, though out of champions, does have the backup Nami. I'm talking about Admiral Shelley in hand. There's not many great spells to chain right here. The Gravitum and all of the moon weapons kind of come turn after turn. But even with double Shelley, might be tricky. But I do think that like the double Shelleys here could be what brings it home. Double Shelley into a bit of chain spells.
Yeah, we could have a Vile Feast on the first Shelley. Maybe you have to Atrocity your 2-1 here just to deal that 2 damage and keep your Trundle up. The Hush finds a target on the Avarosan Sentry. What am I saying? Okay, well, I have good threats in play. I need to deny that card draw.
Szychu definitely struggling with one of the problems in this region, which is you just can't get a lot of hand replacement. A lot of regions have very good card draw. And, gotta say, Freljord, not one of them.
Oh my god, you've got to
gosh,
line him up, knock him down.
Here.
Just going to send it directly to the face. This is going to buff up Shelley now out of range of the box that's in hand.
I really wish that this barrel could attack. Have you ever wished that a barrel could attack before?
I think I've only seen a silenced barrel attack like once. It was some things have to go very horribly wrong if a barrel is threatening you for sure.
So we're going to see the cleanup on Shelley number 2 and the barrel.
Yeah, Szychu knows that final spell
damage
is just the moon weapon. Can't respond to this. Thank goodness able to clean up this last Shelley.
The box goes off, clearing up the board a little bit, but still on the attack with 11 elusive damage here, getting the moon weapon just for good measure, giving the overwhelm and +2/+1 to this gigantic Sparklefly. And in response, we're seeing Atrocity, the final card in Szychu's hands, sacrificing the Trundle to kill the Sparklefly.
Szychu chuckling to himself, recognizing like how ridiculous this game has gotten. The deck that has been performing so well for Szychu and What Am I on a list that has been underperforming have just ground each other down to this horrifying stalemate. And What Am I is just has the elusive threat in play. It's too late now.
And Szychu just got a Catalyst of Bands. You never want to see that when you're already enlightened. 10 mana, what are you going to get? A couple of life? That's not
heal.
enough.
It's the desperate heal, baby.
And here is the knock him down, going straight for face. We're seeing desperation heals here, but there's a second line him up, knock him down in hand.
Yeah, so What Am I didn't go for line him up, knock him down in order to just buff up because Shelley doesn't buff herself. You go for the open attack and you're just going to try to go face. But now, with the pillar remaining alive, grants Shelley vulnerable. Tryndamere able to remove this from the board and finally level up. Things have gone completely back into Szychu's favor, and a couple more points of damage need to be found by What Am I? Something like a Pale Cascade?
This poor Sparklefly, though. There's an avalanche in hand.
Szychu managing to hang on by a thread
but
in this game too.
Has to be paying attention here. We get the 2 damage out. No more Sparkle Fly. Only a little bit of direct damage. It's all about these top decks. Pale Cascade, where were you before?
So that is, ironically, still not lethal for Szychu. Oh, and there's the Feel the Rush. Thank
You
goodness.
gotta go for it. You gotta go for it. Completely
Long have
unnecessary. Need to have it. Gotta have it. Get those 10/10s out here. We get the gigantic Trundle. We get the second Tryndamere. It's time for Szychu to ruin this.
Unbelievable. What a game. Spell Thief coming up huge in this 3rd place match. So Szychu closing it out there.
I was not expecting the number of Feel the Rushes that we saw cast in that game, because that was wild.
Yeah, that was more Feel the Rush in that game than we have seen all tournament. I don't think that's saying very much because of where the meta is right now, but, you know, it's been fun.
Even in the Feel the Rush meta, you didn't see that many Feel the Rush cast in a normal game.
I just completely lost track of the champions. They were just showing up and then getting wiped and then trying to fight for dominance again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What an exciting matchup, though, to actually see come to the fold. Szychu getting a chance to secure 3rd place. WhatAmIXX does go home in 4th, but as you were mentioning, Amy, this was a fight for a significant chunk of the prize pool when you take a look at the difference between 3rd and 4th place. So let's go ahead and pull up that bracket just to give you that visual of the players that are in the top 4. We have got WhatAmIXX in 4th, and we have got Szychu in 3rd, taking that home for EU.